Question: at what age did you guys discover porn?
Oh gosh, let me think. Probably like 8th grade.
5th grade.
When I first heard about it, or when I first watched it?
First watched it.
First watched it would be 9th grade.
I think
End of 9th grade, or maybe it was the beginning of 10th grade, actually.
the first time I searched up anything with the intent for that type of stuff was probably also like sophomore year or freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
But the first time I ever went on to like Google and just typed anything boobies or something was 8th grade or stuff like some bullshit like that as a kid.
I typed in boobies as well, and I got so much more than that,
Boobs.
and I was so scarred.
Oh my god!
I was like, what are they doing?
I feel like
What's that white stuff coming out?
The culture shock.
Yeah,
I feel like if you just type in boobs, it's all memes at this point.
yeah.
If you typed in boobs into Google today, it would just be a bunch of memes about boobs.
Mm.
It
must
have been different when we were in high school.
Yeah,
right?
times are changing, I guess.
That's why
meme culture's ruined the porn industry. Damn it!
and that's why my dad thinks I'm so screwed up, because he thinks it's porn.
Because of 5th grade.
Yeah, because of 5th grade.
How old is 5th grade?
I think that's like 10 or like 9.
Well, you're
10,
around 5.
11.
You're around 5 when you're in kindergarten, right?
Like, I think like in 4th grade you're like 9 or something.
Yeah.
5th grade you're like, I think you're like 10 or 11 when you're in 5th grade.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I feel like it's normal to be curious by the time you're 11 or 12. 10, 11, 12. Like, you probably don't really get what's going on. And then you get more like actually interested in
in that
content.
Portion.
Yeah, when you're like 13 or 14, and then you're like, oh, this is what that is.
Yeah. It's like, oh, so he's not hurting her.
Yeah.
When you're 11, you're like curious. You're like, I heard about this at school.
Yeah, and then like people in your school start looking actually like, and then like you start developing much more intense crushes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like 7th grade is when people were talking about 2 Girls, 1 Cup, right?
Oh god!
Oh shit! Yeah.
That was middle school, right?
I think that was middle school. Yeah.
For
all you guys of our generation. 2 Girls, 1 Cup.
And that's only.
You guys oh shit!
That's only 2 years after you discovered it at first,
Oh,
and people
my
were
God.
already finding like that crazy shit.
Wait.
So.
Do you guys remember Lemon Party?
No,
I don't know any of it.
I don't know what that is.
Okay, Lemon Party is just a trap website where it's called Lemon Party, but the entire thing is just full of old gay sex.
I thought that was there was another website. It was called Sour Math.
Probably.
It was just kind of like this really close up of just like 2 guys having anal sex, and it was like the song that I forgot what it was, but like you tried to click out of it, and then like a message would pop up saying hello, 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 and then you try to click out of it, but it won't let you because a message kept popping up.
Oh gosh.
I feel like I've seen memes about that.
Yeah.
I feel like those websites may be designed just to absolutely troll a teacher.
Yeah.
Oh my god, could you imagine that? If you actually opened
like
it
in
up
class?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh no,
Oh.
on the smart board.
Yeah, I remember.
Start drawing on it.
Oh no.
I remember a video like that. It was called like the Spanish alphabet song.
Oh,
I tried to like watch it for like, education. And then it's
Of
like,
course.
here's a great, like, and the message was, here's a great educational song for all you motherfuckers.
Nice.
I remembered when you're supposed to show like a pop video to talk about yourself, your favorite pop video.
Yeah.
I was showing a Bo Burnham song. And,
boy.
but this is the thing, I knew when to stop it. I stopped it right when I knew he was going to start saying fucking all over it, like all the time. But then my teacher was like, she actually liked the song. So,
Oh no!
So she pressed play. I'm like, oh no, don't. And then just
Oh no!
just
Brutal.
cursed all the innocent ears
Nice.
of those high schoolers. Yes, very innocent.
I'm sure. I'm
Okay,
sure.
in high school, we watched Saving Private Ryan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait. Were you in my World War II class?
Maybe.
Was it with
I don't think
Taigen?
it was. No, I don't think it was World War II class. It was just like standard American history.
You watched Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, we watched
for standard American
I
history.
think a lot of social studies classes at our school watch Saving Private Ryan.
watched
clips.
Just
clips
the first,
at least.
There was a history teacher there that recommended watching Pompeii for extra credit for our Roman section. Yeah, did you guys remember what Pompeii
Isn't
was?
that one with like really graphic sex scenes?
No, that was the one that had Jon Snow in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a Jon Snow action movie that revolved around the collapse of Pompeii. That was extra credit for us to learn more about Roman history.
Nice.
Or Gladiators, even example.
I got extra credit for 300. I watched 300 and got extra.
Oh, this was my favorite one. What was it called? Blackboard? Was that the website? Like there's some website we could use to actually like find stuff for middle school and high school to like do stuff online. I can't remember what it's called anymore. But on there for our extra credit for Gladiator, the link was a bootleg Gladiator website to watching Gladiator. She was like, "Oh, it appears the link is gone." I'm like, "Yeah, it's bootleg shit."
I love all the stolen videos and like textbooks throughout all of my education that like were recommended by the professor or teacher.
One of my history professors, the textbook we used was online. Like it's just casually on. He was like, "Oh, I know that's for some people. It's really tough to afford these books, so I'm going to have the link online for the textbook as a PDF."
Yeah. So many. It's so beautiful.
It's glorious. God damn it. I love it.
I just remember when we were watching Saving Private Ryan, just like the first 20 minutes, I just remember like the jocks in the back were just cracking jokes for the entire time.
Of course.
Yeah.
Got him.
Some of the girls were just eyes glued on the screen, just in complete shock, and then you have the guys in the back just be like, "Oh, mom, no!"
Why did you take your helmet off, you fucking idiot?
Oh god,
like that, yeah.
Stuff like that all the time.
Perfect.
Yes,
well, that's one way to cope with seeing something so graphic.
Yeah,
it is a method. Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes.
Yeah, there's like a lot of stuff that I grew up with that I feel like desensitized me by the time I watched that. So.
Well, I've been on Live Leak, so I'm pretty much desensitized to everything.
Well, you saw actual murder then.
Yeah.
Like, not just...
I feel like you tried to get me into Live Leak in middle school or something.
Did I?
I think so. Maybe not middle school, but high school.
I wasn't... Yeah, maybe in high school.
Maybe in high school. It all blurs together for me.
What was it? I think in middle school I accidentally saw Passion of Christ on YouTube.
What's that?
That's the Mel Gibson movie about the crucifixion of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
So he's being whipped by the Romans.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is that realistic whipping?
It's supposed to show. It's supposed to be like those like a really gratuitous image of the suffering of Christ before he got crucified. Very, very just like, oh god, Jesus is being fucked up, that type of thing. I remember watching as a kid. Just in middle school, I was going out to YouTube, and all of a sudden, I find something. I don't even know why I clicked on. I think I was watching Kingdom Hearts, and then I just
oh my god,
left click on this, and I just see Jesus just getting freaking whipped,
wailed on.
Yeah, just get like all sorts of stuff. Like first it was the bull whips, then there was like these weird metal things they were like whipping into him.
Oh no!
And it's pretty visceral.
Yeah, I like the range of how whips affect people in movies. Because some movies, it's like you get whipped, and it's like, ow, stop. And in other movies, you get whipped and your arm flies off.
Or you're just Indiana Jones and you're just straight out of a comic book and you're like disarming people.
Yep. Whips are great in movies. They're pretty brutal though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of momentum.
I saw in Singapore they whip convicted criminals. I saw a video of that.
On Live Leak?
Whipping their ass.
On Live Leak or
not on YouTube.
Oh.
YouTube censorship is so random, man.
YouTube, it's like Russian roulette.
I see some weird shit on YouTube that probably would have been blocked.
On Live Leak, you're not going to find those videos anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I searched them out of curiosity, and they're not available anymore for some reason.
Is Live Leak trying to tone it down?
Maybe.
Wow. Good for them.
There's no more beheadings, ISIS executions, public suicides.
Yeah. Wasn't there a movement to take down websites that shared ISIS stuff?
Probably.
Yeah.
I know there was a lot of Reddit subreddits that were very violent ones. One, for example, being straight up r/watch people die that they were starting to take down. Just very, very just violent type of content.
I remember when Reddit was really Wild West of You could just do anything on Reddit.
It seems like it still kind of is with some
Somewhat.
stuff. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it used to be like way crazier.
Well, I used to get links from my friends from that subreddit. That's the only reason why I know that subreddit.
I don't think there's any like porn on Reddit anymore.
Oh, there is.
There is?
There's a lot of NSFW segments.
Gotcha.
You could probably find all sorts of stupid shit if you wanted to.
I thought Reddit was trying to like clean up.
They were in more of the violent murder portion,
Gotcha.
but not the
sex,
not the depravity of whatever sexual interest you want to look at into.
Gotcha. I saw some of those videos on Facebook recently, like within the last year of death.
What, ISIS beheadings?
Well, not beheadings, but it was an ISIS execution, but it was just like them, like shooting other people in the head point blank. And at first I thought it was like a parody video or a joke because it just looked so ridiculous. Like how like their heads like deformed after they got shot. I'm like, this isn't like what? Oh god, this is real.
Yeah. I saw an ISIS execution where they fired a Bofors cannon at somebody. Like those they do all sorts of crazy shit. There's a really, really good PBS documentary called The Rise of ISIS where they talk about all the stuff and the propaganda stuff that they do.
Yeah.
And that video, when our professor warned us that it was graphic, I don't think she was she wasn't giving it justice, because like that was like one of the that was one of the craziest PBS videos I've ever seen, because like they like actually full on just showed them doing their executions on a PBS Channel 2 documentary.
Hot damn.
And then like there's this guy next to me that like he just sitting there, he just went, Jesus Christ, that was just a class. And like, they were, like, shoving people into the river and stuff like that. It was so graphic.
I remember, like, there was this girl crying in our class, like, in middle school. And, like, nobody knew why she was crying. But, like, apparently I've heard stories that she was crying because she saw a video like that.
Oh, God.
Like, in a few hours ago, and it just affected her for the rest of the day.
Well, yeah, for me, I think because that I saw so much just stupid shit from looking onto YouTube when I was a kid, and then as I became high school, just friends and other people just show me dumb, crazy, ridiculous garbage, to the point where if I were to see that in a school setting, that wouldn't bother me. But if I didn't like touch a computer until middle school, and I didn't even know what Armor Games was or Addicting Games, and all of a sudden I'm watching an ISIS execution in the middle of the classroom.
Well, like, Raj will tell you, he found Unit 731 videos.
Yeah,
of,
that's
like the
crazy.
Procedures.
That's
when
insane.
he was in middle school.
Yeah, like that's ridiculous.
Where did he find that?
Somewhere.
Found like there's a lot of ever since like the 70s. There's been a lot of declassification of certain stuff.
Oh.
If you know where to look for it, and of course, if you go on 4chan, you could probably figure out like places that like just shit posted or something. Mm-hmm. But if like the JFK Foundation website is really good. You can basically find every single recording, because JFK bugged the White House. Like there was like a lot of CIA bugging in there. Mm-hmm. So you can listen to conversations throughout JFK's presidency. You can listen to JFK ranting about furniture that he got and cussing like crazy. There's one where he's bitching at his his naval staff, because when his wife was delivering, there was like they kind of showed this weird press picture of this really fancy room they set up for Jackie at the military base, and he hated it because he was sitting there, was like, "What the hell? You're trying to make us look rich or something? Trying to make us look opulent?" He was like, "Somebody needs to take it out right now because this is a fuck up." He just says that. You can hear JFK just cussing, or like you can hear everything from like even stuff from the Cuban Missile Crisis. Like a lot of stuff is even in the CIA stuff.
Yeah.
When I was researching for this banana like coup that happened in Guatemala, I could just search up Operation, like they named the operation Operation PB Success, and then I could find documents from the CIA declassification. Of course, stuff is black inked, but there's still the title: Possible Threats Once Operation is Completed, and there still is some names and details you can just read off of it.
Wow.
It's actually very fascinating. So yeah, those videos are very easy to find. Well, easier to find.
The U.S. cut a deal with Shiriichi well, where we got his research.
We cut a lot of people with there's Operation Paperclip, where we were essentially in a giant grand melee game with the Soviet Union to kidnap as many German scientists as possible and yeet them over to D.C. before the Russians could take them.
Because we want all those German scientists.
Like NASA, like half of those guys were V2 rocket scientists and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing kind of goes to the Japanese.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like one video, like that 731 shit, I would never watch.
What was that?
The one, like the clips Raj saw.
Oh, Unit 731.
I would never watch shit like that.
Yeah.
A beheading, it's like, whatever.
Well, it's kind of. I bet it was kind of like he found it and didn't even know what he was watching until he knew it.
Yeah,
that's horrible.
Yeah,
horrible.
That's kind of what happened with most
of
of the stuff that I first saw that was really messed up on YouTube, or not YouTube even, but like on the internet, where you don't like your brain's still computing it because you think it's. I'm too used to watching like video game play and shit like that, so my brain's still trying to think, what is this? And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, that's a person being killed. Okay, now I know. Now I know what that looks like now. And
there is some things, like, I can't even read about. Like, sometimes, like, I can, like, watch, like, horrible graphic, like, real-life videos. But then, like, if I would read a news story about this horrible torture and murder, like, I would not be able to read it.
Because you'd be able to visualize it?
Yeah, like, for example, have you ever heard of the Junko Furuta? No. It's like this, like, it was about this Japanese high schooler back in, I think, 1987. And basically, she was kidnapped by her classmates, and she was raped and tortured for 44 days until she was murdered. And I was, like, reading through the list of all the things that they have done to her within those 44 days. And I just, like, stopped halfway, and I'm like, I can't read this.
Wait, that's insane.
I'm going to puke. I'm going to faint if I, like, have to.
God, that's, like, so excessively fucked up.
Yeah, and it ended up on my YouTube algorithm because recently her killers only got, like, 8 years of prison because they were minors.
Of course.
Yeah, and... Yeah, recently one of them is back in jail again because of attempted murder.
Wow.
For, like, stabbing some guy near a road or something.
That was probably one of the worst things I've ever heard recently.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I was, like, about to faint. Like, if I read that entire list, I think I probably would have.
So, Unit 731.
Yeah, much cheerier.
Happier, yeah.
Yes. Water treatment plants in Manchuria.
I mean, it was just water treatment.
Yeah, yeah. There's testing in the back of the water treatment plant. You better not look. You better not get curious, buddy.
Otherwise, we'll be testing on you. So.
Hey, just stand right there for a second, buddy. Sorry, I had to do something.
Take your head measurements.
After hearing 44 days, I just had to think of literally anything else. Do
you just think how fucked up it is that we live in a universe where that happened?
The worst part for me always about hearing stuff like that is knowing that is just a documented case.
Yeah.
That's the worst part for me, because then it allows my imagination to take hold of me, and I think to myself, wait, so what the fuck do we not know about?
Yeah.
Like, what crazy stuff before even, like, documentation could be made.
Yeah, because then I think
way back in history, like all the crazy stuff.
Like it starts to create a better image of why these sort of extreme stories or extreme descriptions even come to play in history. Because then it starts to make you think, shit, man, this could be real.
Right.
Like, what the hell? This is insane.
Some people are insane.
There are some really fucked up people out there. That just, I don't know, mob mentality or something happened to them that they think they need to lock up a Japanese girl for 44 days and torture her.
Yeah.
And then kill her. Like, what the hell? Good God. Or, like, even just the random stories of just stupid cruelty where, like, you see those, like, I remember one that I still remember this from, like, high school where those high schoolers just dropped cinder blocks onto the highway.
Oh, yeah. That was, like, a thing. That happens a lot, actually, doesn't it?
Yeah, like, there's
Stuff
even...
like that.
It's even commonplace for, like, people when they're bored to beat up homeless people and, like, record it. And then, like, just... Yeah, they were dropping cinder blocks and it went straight through somebody's windshield and killed them.
Yeah, oh, yeah, that reminds me of another sad story.
Man, this is a depressing podcast today.
Yeah,
it turned depressing where... Yeah, I think this happened a few years ago in America where, like, these teenagers, like, threw, like, a brick at a windshield on the overpass. And it, like... It hit,
I think that's what I'm thinking
Yeah,
of.
it was, like, a husband and a wife. And then, like, the wife got hit with it. And her, it didn't kill her, but it caused, like, traumatic brain injury. Like, deformed her entire head. Like her brain was basically leaking out. And...
Well, yeah, people, like, put rocks and snowballs and throw them at cars too.
Shit.
What the fuck's wrong with people, dude?
And that's like not even that uncommon, honestly.
I know, that's the worst part.
It's just a lot of times they don't kill anyone.
Yeah,
so you don't hear about it.
It's just common cruelty.
Yeah, and the husband, like a few years later, ended up committing suicide. Oh shit! Another thing. This is
actually, in case if it's cool if I interrupt you just for a second.
Oh, go ahead.
I just realized just how much violence is really easy to be absorbed pretty easily in the modern setting.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like, it just hit me now that basically since, at least for me, since like maybe middle school, I've been projected to extreme like pretty good images of violence at that point. And then combine that with the constant news stories of murder. History is almost heavily...
Yeah, that's what they want to report on.
And then it's just
the
like
juicy stuff.
I feel like I don't know if people are desensitized to this shit.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Recently, like last week, there was it was this week on 494 here in Minneapolis. There was a guy who was unloading an assault rifle onto oncoming traffic.
Jesus.
And that was the usual road I take to go to work.
I remember my mom was telling me one time she was driving to work when she like first came to Minnesota, and she was hearing this weird noise, and then she realized somebody was shooting, and then she was like, "Wait, was somebody shooting at the road?" Like she never told. She said she didn't ever understand anything else about the situation, but she just knew somebody was shooting nearby her car while she was driving.
In middle school or high school, I don't remember. On the way to my cello lesson in Minneapolis, there was a drive-by. I saw it.
Jesus.
They didn't hit anyone, but there was just a car, and it sounded like firecrackers, but not.
Yeah.
And this car just drove by, and it was like bam, 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 and then they sped away. And my dad was the one driving me, and he calls the police and then starts pursuing the shooter.
Oh my god.
I just like reclined back, and he like got a license plate and told him like which way they were bound.
Based.
Look at your dad.
I was like, what the hell is happening?
Wow, look at him. Yeah. Not a lot of people would be willing to do that.
It was wild. Yeah. So that was probably my closest encounter with a shooting.
I don't think I've ever, at least as far as I know, I've never had a close encounter with a shooting.
I just hear stories about it from other people. Like that one person I used to be friends with was shot in the abdomen. Another one, a guy I worked with last year, he used to do crime. And one time, like, he was doing a drug deal and one of his friends got shot in the head.
Jesus Christ.
Those aren't even reported on.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it just harkens back to it right there.
Like the one that I saw didn't get reported on either, probably because no one got hit.
The shit we don't know about, just a constant ritual violence.
Just living in Duluth really got me thinking about that, because it's like you literally hear it at least once a week. Much. Somewhere in the town, there's someone getting shot.
I think that there's like a huge portion of most of like the people that live near us that probably are so tied to it, but we just don't know about it. Just all the violence that happens around us probably on a daily basis.
Well, we grew up in a bubble.
I'm still in a bubble.
Yeah, in a very safe bubble, because I was like shielded from a lot of like horrible shit that goes on in the world. I think it's because my parents didn't want me to experience that, because, with my dad, he basically he grew up in a bubble, and he's still in a bubble.
Yeah.
He spent his 75 years in a bubble, while my mom...
He was in the military, too, which is wild.
But he got a cushy job as a store manager in Vietnam, because he volunteered.
Nice.
Yeah, he volunteered before the draft. My mom basically, I think she grew up in a shanty town in the Philippines, and she's probably seen some shit.
Yeah.
That's how I know. Yeah, like my parents, their childhoods were in Vietnam during the Vietnam War.
Fuck.
So that's why whenever I hear from their perspective, I'm sitting here like, okay, like you guys could straight up tell me anything, and like I'll believe you. Like those guys, like the stories that they have are just ridiculous. Like,
yeah. It's weird how much. I guess it's less now, but when we were younger, there's a lot of like reservation about children watching certain movies because of the violent themes and stuff.
Do people care about that shit nowadays?
No, we also grew up when there was like a big boom of Christian conservative like presence in media.
Yeah, that's because it was during like the whole kind of like Americanism revival because of 9/11.
Yeah.
Where like there's that kind of emphasis on what it is to be American.
So that's part of it too. But then at the same time, the news was still like crazy, talking about violence and stuff all the time. So it's like this is way more impactful than a movie. Like above like, I don't know, the age of like 8, you probably understand the difference between reality and a movie.
In fifth,
So movies, like violence in movies after I was like 8 years old, I was like, this is obviously not really happening.
in 5th grade, they showed us this like young adult news or whatever the hell it was every single week. And there was
Time for Kids.
Yeah.
I don't remember this.
And there was a day where they just talked about paramilitary violence in Africa. I remember that.
What the heck?
Like, there's all this normal shit, right? Like, just a tornado, flood, nice people doing nice things. Zoot suits for all the teachers that, like, remember what that is.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, one day, I just see, I think it was, I don't remember what country it was, but very clearly, it was just paramilitaries walking around with machetes and just being violent. Like, injured people, like, they're not showing the actual act, but, like, they're wounded and stuff, and, like, there's pools of blood on the ground and stuff like that. And then our teacher, like, started crying and was, like, talking to us about all sorts of shit. Like, you didn't have to show us that. You could have just turned it off.
Got it. And it reminds me, like, back in 4th grade, 2005, when we invaded Iraq. Like, I remember, like, we were, like, looking at the Time for Kids magazines, and all the kids were like, whoa, this guy has a gun.
Oh, man.
I don't remember anything about Iraq growing up.
I just remember the news shit.
All I remember is the documentaries I had to watch eventually in middle school, where they literally showed us 9/11 just in middle school. They were just like, oh, here's a TV. You see that plane? It's about to knock down two buildings. They just showed us that.
Yeah.
I think the thing I remember most about the Iraq War is honestly Jeff Dunham's dead terrorist. Like, dead ass.
Well,
like, that's my like most.
Do you mean the skeleton?
Yeah,
terrorist
yeah,
thing? I remember that.
Yeah, that's my most succinct memory from that time period. I very vividly remember that.
The one thing I remember the most was we did a fake election for one of Bush's I think his second term probably, because his first term would have been before we were like born basically. I think.
No.
97?
No, his first term was...
Well, 9/11 was in the 90s.
I mean, wasn't he elected to...
Was 9/11 2001 or 90s?
2001.
Yeah.
2001.
Was 9/11
2001?
I think he was elected in 2000.
Yes, because...
Yeah.
The election
yeah.
was... We had an election
Okay.
2016.
My bad.
2016 is divisible by 4, and therefore 2000 was an election year. And his first presidency was in 9/11 happened during his first term.
Oh, I don't remember.
He was elected in 2000.
I think I voted for George Bush in that fake election.
Nothing. You did? Nice.
I didn't even remember 9/11.
Nice.
Oh no, I don't.
I was like
shit.
5, but
yeah,
like I grew up thinking 9/11 happened in 1991.
Yeah. It
2000.
It's happened 2001.
Yeah.
It happened 20 years ago.
Yeah, and we're still like reeling from it as a country.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's still affects,
our foreign policy is in the Middle East is entirely dictated by the aftershocks of 9/11.
And so it's like there's still aspects of the Patriot Act.
Yeah, and then the war on terror has latched into just everything we like. So many things.
Our entire economy is built on
military
action.
Our entire justification for drone strikes is based off of 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
Like all that type of shit. Like our projections into the Middle East.
And it's just normal now too. It's really wild. That's how much stuff is just like, hey, we do this now, and that's just what we do.
And now we're
protesting it.
Yeah,
no one's trying to stop it. It's just like, oh, well, we need their oil, you know.
And now we have even other generations younger than us that don't even have any that are even further from 9/11 at this point. And for them, it actually is just probably reading about it, not really about, I was actually alive when it happened. Because for us, we still think, oh shit, I was alive when that happened. 4 or 3, I was in preschool or some shit. Yeah.
Have no memory of it.
No, yeah. When I talk to my parents about it, like once in a while to my parents, my mom would be like, "Oh yeah, I saw it. I didn't know what the hell was going on," because like at that point, her English wasn't as good. So that's why she just saw it happen, but then she still like had no idea what was going on.
A lot of people say that's what makes a Zoomer. Gen Z is like people that don't remember 9/11.
You know what?
And people that do remember 9/11 that were children When it happened, they're millennials. And that's like the defining difference between the generations.
It's a very vague definition.
Do you know what also makes a Zoomer?
What?
When they think they're millennials.
I'm definitely not millennial.
Yeah, we're not those Zoomers. We're the good Zoomers.
I feel like there's like a middle generation between millennials and Zoomers, you know?
I feel like every generation should just be that year generation.
I just define a millennial as someone who came of age during the 2000s.
Yeah, like, I think that's like the only, like, the classification, at that point you would just have to say that, because we can't make it any more specific without it getting convoluted eventually. But
I just remember one of my roommates trying to argue that he was a fucking millennial, even though he was 19 at the time. He was 3 years younger than I was, and he was like vehemently arguing that he was a millennial.
Yeah, if I was to like look at most millennials and most Zoomers, I'd say I'm more Zoomer than millennial. But
see, like, you guys throwing these terms in right now, right? My brain's too small. What the fuck's a Zoomer right now?
Gen Z.
Gen Z. What's Gen Z?
Zoomer.
What's a Zoomer?
TikTok. You know?
Okay. I don't think I'm a Zoomer then, dude.
No, it's not just TikTok. It's
Those are the younger Zoomers.
Well,
younger Zoomers are TikTok.
Oh, okay. What, like the meme culture? What?
Yeah, meme culture.
That's all I can. That's all I associate with when it comes to other generation. When it comes to other people, not even generations, other people.
Just meme culture.
Yeah, like if you don't know history, all I got with you is memes.
Yeah. It's hard to just define generations, I guess.
Because there's no official consensus. Isn't it all based on marketing?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like even previous generations, there's such a significant gap of upbringing because there has to be. Not everybody's not the same.
Well, even like between me and someone 5 years younger than me, there's such a big difference.
Technology is probably the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's the biggest gap right now.
Well, like access to technology, and because I feel like most people in our generation, parents were like kind of reserved about technology, and were like, "Oh, I'm not so sure about this."
Yeah,
tried to hold us back.
Yeah, because they had to pick it up. Like they were the ones that had to make the questions as a parent of whether or not we get a smartphone or whether or not we get a new fancy computer and high speed internet.
Yeah,
and no playing online with strangers because they can like rape you.
They'll give you drugs.
Yeah,
the To Catch a Predator. That show probably scared the shit out of so many parents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one was. Bill Burr has a skit about how that show like just made everyone so paranoid.
Yeah, I mean, if I was a parent,
and then there's like a website or something that he like clicked, and it showed all of the predators in his like square like mile radius or something, and it was like red dots everywhere, and he was like, "Oh my god, they're everywhere."
You know, I had this nagging feeling that 9/11 drastically affected our childhood and how our parents, like, my parents were very overprotective of me and my brother. Like,
easily.
We were not even allowed to play in the front yard.
Yeah, like
because they were scared of some stranger kidnapping us, even though we lived in a relatively safe neighborhood in Eden fucking Prairie.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I don't know, I was thinking, like, 9/11 had something to do with this?
It significantly, it was kind of like a culture shock for a lot of people because that was like the first real attack that happened on U.S. soil via a foreign power, you could say, outside of Pearl Harbor. So that's why, from that perspective, it just shook people because they're just thinking, "Oh my god, like
we're not invincible."
Yeah, like what? Like they took down 2 skyscrapers in New York. That's a pretty significant message that they managed to send. So that's why, for like a lot of people, especially, and of course the politicians took. Of course, there was a huge amount of public support to invade Iraq in the U.S. So then the politicians, of course, took that in stride, and it dragged us into all sorts of conflict. Because,
they just used it.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
it's
then,
a great opportunity. Yeah,
at the same time, there was a lot of heated people in America when that happened. Like it was very
politically. It's like, how could you refuse? People were literally like offering you everything you wanted on.
It's a golden egg, basically. You have to take it.
Wait, we'll let you survey us. We'll give you as much money as you want.
Yeah, airport security actually too.
Yeah, like we'll just give you whatever you want, and as long as you go and fight these people, and it's like, sure, man.
Yeah, because then they foment that feeling of uneasiness that at some point another plane could come crashing down somewhere.
Yeah.
Or some guy could like blow up a car on the Golden Gate Bridge.
Even my parents were like okay with mass surveillance. Like,
yeah, because they don't feel safe.
Yeah, my dad was like, well, it's okay, I have nothing to hide.
That's
that
one.
Yeah.
That's the worst one.
Like,
you have nothing to fear unless you're a bad guy.
Yeah. I feel like
you can say anything to a cop because you have nothing to you have nothing to hide. You didn't do anything wrong.
They'll just blow you away because they're having a bad day.
My childhood sucked. It was so boring as hell.
But they just sticking in the house?
Yeah. And like just on my PS2 all day and like not allowed to use the internet or like watch anything other than Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon. Just rotting my brain all day with that shit. And having my handheld everywhere I went. It was obnoxious. Yeah, I was just like...
That sounds like my childhood.
Yeah, I was just like thinking, like I was watching Paul's Ego on his live stream channel, and he was like, he's like 40, but he was like talking about how in his childhood, like he had all these freedoms that a lot of kids don't have these days. And you like mentioned something about 9/11 having an effect on that.
Yeah, it's that, and also like you said, like TV shows. Like, To Catch a Predator, honestly, that was like a huge TV show.
It's the crime.
Could you imagine?
On the news, too, yeah.
What?
Showing all the violent crimes and stuff. It kind of all plays together.
Well, and like, can you imagine being a parent and watching a show about kidnapped rapists and that target kids? As a parent, how would you not?
If I apply myself to the parent perspective, internet is now a thing. Computers are now can now go into the internet. Smartphones are becoming a thing. Everyone's getting cell phones. What the fuck is this video game thing you're talking about? And then all of a sudden 9/11 happens, and then there's shows like that shit. News that keep showing violence every single day. I see those terrorists being attacked by our U.S. soldiers, and that we are still fighting them. Yeah, it's a lot of that. When you play that into mind, I'd be paranoid.
You got it. Yeah,
I'd be sitting there like, wait, son, did you just open the window? Close the blinds.
I'm just thinking,
now you're like, how breachable is my house? Oh my god.
I'm like that already.
I'm just thinking,
if I have a kid in the house, it's gonna be way worse.
I'm just thinking how hard our parents tried to shield us from all this stuff, and yet we grew up watching these like horrible murders and suicides on Live Leak and all that shit like that.
That's the weird part, right? Because like they probably had the exact same experiences as a kid. My parents grew up in Vietnam, and then but at the same time they still didn't want me to play T games or M games.
Except for Jack 2.
I couldn't play Jack 2 for a while.
Really?
Like I actually got a PS2 pretty early, but I could only play Crash Bandicoot. Shit, that game was hard.
Crash Bandicoot, yeah.
Crash
I
Bandicoot,
remember that one.
Crash Bandicoot's harder than Jack for me. And then then finally I think it was third grade, so like 2 years after I had my PS2, something like that. I had PS1 for a while. I can't remember exactly when we got the PS2. It was just funny because on my PS1, I play all sorts of violent JRPGs and stuff like that, like things that are much more visceral things to it than anything Jack had.
Yeah.
And then then they finally let me play it. But yeah, they were still they're still very protective about that. They were still like, no, don't do that. Oh, Yao China, it has guns, you can't play that.
Yeah, I think it really depends on like area or region too and culture.
Yeah.
Because we're all from the same area, but I feel like a lot of people that grew up in our area had very protective households. My parents were not so much. Like, I went off with one of my childhood friends and we just like walked around in the woods and like near a creek. Like, it wasn't even a park. It was just, there's this creek and woods and a railroad. We just like walked around and explored that area and whatever.
I remember when
people are like so confused by that too. Like, when I tell them that, they're like, what? You were, like, allowed to leave your house without supervision?
Well, I think in my situation, maybe, I just wasn't that social, maybe, too, because I straight up, almost every single day, I would go straight home and game. Just every single day. Like, that was just my routine, and I loved doing that. When my dad put me into basketball, that was the worst was the worst 4th grade. That was the worst year of my life. I'm just sitting.
God.
I just sit there, just sitting there. All these tall people are throwing. I didn't score a single hoop that entire year.
Me neither. I hated basketball.
I just stood there impotently, just like I can't make it. I'm throwing the ball like this. I'm actually throwing it like that.
Insert stereotypical Chinese joke here about basketball.
Obligatory Asian basketball joke.
Yeah, here you go.
What were you going to say, mate, earlier? When
I honestly lost my train of thought.
No.
Choo-choo.
Yeah. I wonder if it also has to do with living in a suburb. Like how, like Eden Prairie is a relatively safe city to live in. But it's like, like being in a suburb, it's like being in a bubble in itself,
Yeah.
It isolates you, basically.
Don't leave the suburb.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an island.
Yeah, it's an island. And it's
Yeah.
no mixed zoning, no places you can walk to without driving. You just kind of
It's almost like a little fairy tale land in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, and it sucks, and I hate it.
Yeah, I wonder if people, they grew up in inner cities had, honestly, more freedom or less.
Could have, yeah.
I'm curious.
Just more activity.
Yeah, I know people in the country, like a lot of my cousins were driving tractors at age 5 or something.
Yeah.
Fucking whatever.
Yeah.
I've been watching some videos about the problem with suburbs, from Paul Joseph Watson to a far leftist like Vosh. They were just talking about how living in a suburb is very soul crushing.
Just the historical legacy of a suburb is also pretty sketchy. Probably you may have picked up on that from the leftist ones you may have listened to.
Yeah.
How it's like how once the migration from a lot of the southern communities of African Americans from the civil rights movement and stuff like that, when they went north and stuff, a lot of communities in the cities decided to basically create suburbs. The term is literally white flight. That is, if you were to Google white flight into Wikipedia, that's what you would find.
It's easy to redline.
Yeah, we made a mistake. Yeah. We made a horrible mistake.
Because if I remember correctly, demographically speaking, a large portion of the African American community for a very long period of time was in the South. So then when the civil rights movement happened, and of course not even that, but prior to that too, there was a lot of movements to move into the other cities in the North, and then that's when they realized, wait a minute. They're still racist.
And also it's even if you live in a suburb or in a small neighborhood that has a park in it, it still feels like there's no community.
Absolutely none.
Only
at least for me.
Well, people don't I wonder if suburbs also attract people that are more prone to be cautious too.
Yeah.
I wonder if the reason that everyone that I know had very cautious, reserved parents that were paranoid is just because that's the kind of person that wants to live in a suburb.
And
have their space and privacy.
That's actually it's actually a pretty sound argument, I feel, because it takes a lot of effort to for some people that is one hell of an investment to move into a suburb. That shit's expensive. Mm-hmm. Higher tax brackets, usually for people who want to raise kids.
Yeah.
So they've already planned on settling down. So then your selection body is already amongst that type of group of people.
Yeah, so it's selection bias.
Yeah.
Basically.
And it's you said that a suburb is like an island, but each person's home is also like an island.
I don't know.
An island within an island.
I don't know. I've lived in the exact same house. I've lived there for so long. I don't know who the fuck any of my neighbors are.
Same.
I know their faces. I've seen them grow up. I've seen their kids go to college before I did.
I think that's also partially Minnesota culture, specifically as well.
There's something
Minnesota nice, and you're hi neighbor, don't talk to me though.
Yeah, there's something ironic about Minnesota nice because it's it's more like Minnesota antisocial or something like that.
Standoff. Yeah, it's I'll say hi, I'll be polite. Yeah. But I really don't want to talk to you.
It's a very surface level type of social behavior.
I'm really starting to hate the state.
Minnesota.
I want to leave.
Where do you want to go that you think would be different?
No clue. Just where it's sunny all the time and people actually talk to each other.
South?
Yeah, somewhere south that's not red.
South Carolina.
The major cities are predominantly blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't have very much luck with the redness of South Carolina, but people are very friendly there.
No, the major cities,
Probably.
the thing with most states is that it's almost entirely the countrysides for the most part that are conservative, and with the major cities, even in the South, for the most part, blue. It's just that
South Carolina doesn't have really major cities. I think it has its capital's like decently large, and it has some coastal cities that are somewhat big. But really, South Carolina is rural as hell.
really,
Like,
one of my friends lives there. Actually, a couple of my friends live there.
yeah, it's interesting being there.
Really, where'd you go there?
The RU,
Hmm.
the summer research thing that I did in college. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that was in South Carolina. Yeah, everything was very spread out.
But was it sunny?
It was sunny. It was humid and it was hot.
South is sunny and hot as fuck.
I'd come out of the shower and be like, it feels more humid out here than in the steaming shower.
I would love that. I love hot weather.
Really? Are you? Would you be one for tropical weather?
Hells yes.
Wow. Maybe you should move to Southeast Asia.
Maybe.
Do you like bugs?
No.
Do you like when you're taking an evening stroll and spiders start dropping down from the trees?
Do you like malaria?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Maybe you won't like the tropics.
Damn. I like the weather.
Dude.
Like, I just need a place where I can work all year, because I'm a landscaper.
Probably would
Like,
be important to move to a different landscape then.
My former manager from this one company moved to Miami, Florida. I was like, oh, that sounds interesting, but it's Florida, so fuck that state.
Bugs.
Alligators, crazy people.
A lot of retired
Florida
people.
man.
Dude.
Local Florida man.
Fucking. I love taking like late afternoon, evening strolls, and you couldn't do it in South Carolina. The spiders literally drop from the trees
Cute.
to like eye level too, and it'd be like boing, and I'm like, Jesus, spider.
We like, hello.
And I don't know the spiders in South Carolina, so I'm like, is that going to kill me if it bites me?
Will that actually kill me just by its mere presence?
Yeah, I was scared of spiders in my childhood, and I got over that fear when I learned that pretty much no spider in Minnesota is going to kill you other than the brown recluse, which is like nowhere. Like, it doesn't go around people at all.
Let me see.
So I was like, oh yeah.
It's called recluse.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I'm not scared of spiders anymore. And then I went down there, I'm like,
I don't know any of this shit.
some of these could kill me.
Yeah, there's some
I don't like that.
there's some pretty goofy looking stuff in like Florida in that area.
There's some pretty fucking colorful spiders that I'm like, I don't like when they're colorful.
I remember when we were when we had that sleepover
Fucking asshole.
back in like what 5th or 6th grade.
Yeah.
Like we like saw a spider and you freaked the fuck out, and we like spent an hour trying to find it.
No. There's a reason I freaked the fuck out, and that's because one of the other people there said that said it was a black widow.
Oh wait, do we have black widows here?
No. But he was like, I swear it had an hourglass on its back, and everybody was freaking the hell out.
Oh yeah.
And then we were like, they don't, like, we all knew that they weren't here, but he's like, oh, they come in bananas sometimes. I'm like, well, my family does get bananas. Like, he, like, just made up this extravagant story and freaked everyone out.
What an asshole.
Do we still
Like,
know
actually, he was just being an asshole.
Yeah.
Do we still know this guy?
Not really.
Oh, was he older?
No, he was our age. He
Oh,
moved
okay.
away, though.
Oh, rip.
So, yeah. He was an asshole. Yeah. He was just in general kind of an asshole. So.
Just to go off topic a little bit, Marcus, I just realized just how much of a paranoid person I'm going to be when it comes to interior defense when I have a child.
Oh, you're gonna have dead-ass shutters.
I'm going to be barricading the fucking house.
Dude, I already want to, like, get shutters that I can open and close. Like,
I know!
metal ones.
I know!
Like on that big-ass window in my room.
Yeah, I know. The moment I saw that,
I want a steel shutter that I can close and, like, have hatches to, like, put barrels through. And
Marcus, the moment you go down the home defense trail, you will go. You're going to start putting landmines on your yard.
Gotta be again.
Yeah. I was like, oh, man. I want hatches where I can open it for, like, shooting it.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever talked about my distaste of ground floor windows on this podcast, but we're currently at Marcus' place, and he has an absolutely ridiculously big ground floor window.
Don't tell him.
yes.
Don't give away my position.
Highly breachable, go straight into the computer room with his Xbox 360 if you want to steal that shit.
I'm not sure who would want to steal an Xbox 360 at this point, but...
I mean, honestly, if I had the opportunity, not to say that I'm a klepto, I would take a Xbox 360 if I had a window for it.
Aren't they like $80 at like?
I mean, it's free shit, bro.
Stores? I'm just saying, there's like a risk threshold that I feel like it's just not worth it.
Okay, I'll say this right. If it was laying on a table in the middle of a cafeteria, and after like 5 hours, I'm hovering and I see that nobody's picking it up, I might pick it up.
You're just gonna like.
But I would not breach somebody's window for a 360.
That's fair.
Unless I knew a really good way to do that quietly.
Just with like a diamond filament.
Like, there's no way in hell I'm gonna yeet a rock in there and then crash into that window trying to take the 360.
FBI open!
Yeah. I mean, I guess maybe I could turn on sirens, do like a cop thing, maybe scare you enough so that it seems like cops are doing it.
Exactly. Like, organize it, put breaching charges on like other windows in the house, so it sounds like there's multiple points of entry.
This is some like Rainbow Six Siege.
Exactly. Disorient. Yes, discombobulate.
Shock and awe.
I just rewatched Sherlock Holmes. It was great.
The first one, Robert Downey is pretty solid.
Yeah,
it's not bad.
I like the discombobulate scene because it's a good meme.
I think the whole it's a really flashy way. In like a Hollywood style to show his thought process. Like a very, very, very aggressive way to show it. Which is, it's very aesthetically pleasing. Discombobulate.
Okay. I think we should probably call it. We're actually at 1 hour and 40 minutes.
Okay.
So we're cruising. This might be a 2-parter.
Sounds good.
Yeah, this is a nice episode.
Yeah, it's pretty good, other than the part that I might need to cut out.
I actually have one more thing to say.
Go for me.
Do we want to change our name, our channel name, to like include John and Raj?
I don't know. Do you feel excluded?
I don't care.
I feel like generic Lucky Shoe actually rolls off the tongue.
I kind of like
decently.
it.
Maybe. I don't know. I was always thinking.
Are you feeling like a rebranding right now?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe later in the future.
Yeah.
Literal gods of comedy.
I mean, I was thinking maybe we can be like 4.5 Men.
4.5. Oh my god. As long as you came up with that title, I think we could get away with it.
So wait.
That's actually not bad, but I'm cool with generic Lucky Shoe, but that's not a bad option, honestly.
4.5.
Yeah.
They're gonna get cancel cultured. They're gonna Lolo bunny us.
Oh, they're gonna say they're gonna say something like all the guys are projecting, making this person use that name. It's like demeaning her
You're
identity.
A token.
See, as long as we upload this clip, then we're good.
No, it's not. Ooh. It's not because they'll take it entirely out of context every episode. No, nobody will ever watch this part.
We'll sell out and become a right-wing podcast.
Yes.
Totally. Shows for the right.
We have a right-wing trans member.
Yeah, and I am the battered housewife of the right wing.
I can talk about how
like Claire White.
I can talk about how statistics of like Asian hate crime scales against white people. It scales away from white people or some shit.
Exactly. Well, like that's the thing is that they always need more trannies.
Yeah.
You know?
They need trannies for their political agenda.
It's a high demand market.
And when they finally
conservative trannies and conservative black people, like they literally can't get enough of them.
That's actually so true. Like when you've seen the RNC and stuff like that, like it's just such a good strategy.
But when the right wing
they do it all the time.
Dude, I love when like in the GOP
they always do it.
Like when they're filming the GOP, what you call it, the
Republican National
primaries.
Convention. Yeah.
The convention.
Yeah.
They always like pan to black people in the background.
They do.
It's like literally they try to get as many black people in frame as possible.
Or like in all of their frames, like it's always so technicolor. Like and then like you'll see them start clapping and they'll like slowly start panning.
Yeah.
All like that.
I swear they like get groups of random people just like by as many minorities represented as possible, and they just get them to like clap. Yes. And take like a picture of it.
Just put them in the frame. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Every single year.
Commitment.
I gotta just like stop trying to be that right wing reasonable tranny, because I know in the end I would always get the short end of the stick or just be like who's thrown out or something.
It's kind of just like a pit. It's like just like a trap basically for you. Honestly.
Yeah. Oh, like because there was like this debate with Blair White. It was like you know,
her Candace.
No, it was a recent one. It was like her and another girl. They were it was like a pro LGBT Republicans just versus regular Republicans, and basically right out of the gate, this one I think she was a Republican politician in some fucking South redneck country or something, but she country. Yeah, they're their own country apparently. But
don't give them any ideas.
Laura Witzke or something.
All right.
Right out of the gate, she called Blair White a degenerate.
Oh my god!
And just said that she should grow out a mustache.
Yikes!
If you want to do good, you would convince your audience to not be like you and grow out a mustache, you degenerate. And you know what, Blair White?
What a gamer move.
Yeah, and Blair White, she just sat there and took it. She didn't go out and, did her usual tactic of, just, insulting her opponent's looks or some shit like that. No, she just sat there like a fucking cuckold.
Goddamn it.
And let her partner argue for her. It was so pathetic.
It's very similar to the interview with Candace Owens, though, too.
Yeah, well, Blair White was, actually, trying, fighting back.
A little bit, yeah.
But,
not as hard as she does with other people, though.
Yeah.
I think she also, really tries to play down, any resistance when people make fun of her being trans, because she doesn't want to appear sensitive about it.
Yeah.
Because she's always been big into critiquing snowflake culture stuff, so she doesn't want to appear as
by defending your identity. It seems like
she doesn't even want to risk it.
There's an implication from dumbasses that you're you're being a snowflake.
Yeah,
it's really sad. Actually,
it is brutal.
It's like saying that you by defending yourself you're being a bitch.
Yeah. I honestly think she.
That's just a good way to get yourself depressed, dude.
I think she's dealing with a lot of self-hatred. I mean, just based on her past.
Yeah.
Basically, her entire side, her family on her dad's side hates her, and now it doesn't accept her.
Yeah.
I think that probably has something to do with it.
Oh, probably.
Do you remember? I have no idea if you're going to remember this, but in APCP, our teacher was talking about this Indian dude, I think, that was part of
UKIP.
UKIP.
I remember that. And do you remember his reason for why he was in that party?
No.
Because he hates black people.
Oh yeah, that one. Oh wait,
I like how that's
and then,
made you remember.
Because they needed him to be a party, right? Or something like that.
Well, I can imagine for UKIP, it's probably phenomenal to have yeah.
I thought there was a political reason that they needed him. I thought there were minority requirements or something.
Oh, they need certain amounts of minority voices within the party.
I think so.
Maybe, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised.
I remember our teacher saying something about they need him to be a party.
I feel like the UK would be the type of they're still within the Western European sphere, so they might have had something like that.
Yeah,
yeah.
I just still I didn't remember the reason though. He's
if I remember correctly, that's exactly what.
I don't care that they hate me. Because I'm fine with that, because I hate black people.
Well, dude, this ties to a lot of things with certain extreme ideologies where they actually can work together with the opposite side of that exact same extreme ideology.
Malcolm X and Ku Klux Klan.
Elijah Muhammad and George Lincoln Rockwell. George Lincoln Rockwell was the head of the American Nazi Party. Elijah Muhammad was the head of the Nation of Islam. They both believed that it was incapable for their races to intermingle. So they worked together. They were like, yes, we both agree we can't live together.
But we can work together to
separate ourselves.
Yeah. Or how conservatives team up with TERFs.
I gotta go to the banyo.
The label trans exclusionary radical feminists.
Yeah.
I always thought it was a match made in hell because it's
Wait, who in TERFs?
TERFs.
Who in TERFs?
Who in TERFs? Why are you talking about names? With conservatives.
Oh, conservatives. Gotcha. Yeah.
How Steven Crowder would occasionally invite a TERF feminist.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't make any sense to me. It's because it's the reason why TERFs hate transgender people, it's because they hate men. And it's hypothetically, when transgender people are out of their way, they're just going to go after men next.
Honestly, a lot of conservatives kind of hate men too, in a way. So.
Oh yeah, true.
I mean, honestly, depending on the brand of feminism, there's a lot that feminists and conservatives actually agree on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Especially in terms of men's responsibility to help women.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of that in certain groups of feminism where it's like, yeah, men should be helping support and prop up women because, I mean, there's different reasons, because for conservatives it's their responsibility as men, and for feminists it's basically a form of reparations, but the end result is the same.
Or how men can't control themselves when they see when they see like women who are scantily clad or some shit like that.
Yeah, that's a big conservative thing. Closed door.
Oh.
That's a big conservative thing, is that men are just animals around women.
Yeah, and that's why...
And that's a big feminist thing.
Yeah, and that's why we can't have them go into the women's restroom.
Honestly, in a lot of ways, conservatives and feminists are natural allies.
Yeah.
There's certain core differences that push them apart.
Like fundamental differences that maybe that would maybe make it much harder for them to work together while they still agree on a lot of things.
Yeah, the reasoning is generally different, but a lot of the actual like end result would actually be the same between them.
Yeah, and then there could also be a historical precedence that could stop them from working together. For a feminist, they may see a conservative man as a traditionalist who at the very end of the day, if they are like an extreme conservative, wants that same nuclear family structure that an extreme feminist would completely reject. And then from that point, they may just not even think about working together while still espousing the same thing.
Well, like the men are supposed to support women.
Protect women.
The conservatives still hold that women have a responsibility.
Yeah.
And the core difference in that case is that feminists don't think that women have a core responsibility in the family still, but men should still be responsible for supporting them.
Yeah.
Because it's a reparations thing.
Yeah, exactly.
For feminists, men owe women reparations for previous harms.
Yeah, and then in that way is why
they can't work together.
Makes it pretty damn hard, unless you're like a pretty pragmatic conservative and a pretty pragmatic feminist, where you can't make some kind of league. I can guarantee you that those groups probably exist, where there's a united front of conservative feminists linked up linked
There definitely are conservative feminists, and that's like a whole nother branch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, what's her name? We called her the based gilf.
Oh, base mom. Yeah.
Based gilf.
Based gilf.
Based gilf.
Christina Hoff Sommers.
Yeah. But would you consider her as one of them?
She's not really conservative.
Hmm.
I wouldn't say. At least not from what I've seen of her.
Yeah.
She's pretty much out of the equation in a way. She's more, honestly, men's rights advocate than...
Yeah, almost like a reactionary feminist at that point. Well, you wouldn't even be able to call them a feminist. You'd say a reactionary conservative.
She calls herself the factual feminist.
Yeah.
Or did when she was still, like, around. I haven't seen her for a long time.
Yeah, so at that point, then it's a female reacting to extreme feminism with by going more conservative to the point where she's espousing just the nuclear families.
Yeah. The factual feminist.
But she wasn't necessarily about the nuclear family. She was actually still, like, feminist, but she was reacting against, like,
I guess in their mind they're still a feminist, if you want to say that.
Yeah, Christina Hoff Sommers was really just a MRA.
What's an MRA?
Men's rights activist.
Oh, okay.
But that's not necessarily conservative. Oftentimes it's not conservative.
Yeah, that's the thing that makes these things so interesting and and complicated. In
my experience, like, for example, the majority of men's rights activists that I know of and have heard before are pro-choice. So that's like almost in our current political discourse, that's practically by definition not conservative.
Yeah.
So
if it's not tied to like the evangelical Christian movement, then you can't really apply it as at least in a general sense, especially stuff as big as abortion. Yeah. Like you would probably be labeled as a liberal. Yeah. If you were to say pro-choice.
Yeah, it's interesting. The stuff with that really gets really interesting.
Oh, you can go down a huge rabbit hole of that shit.
Yeah. Well, and it's just the representation and stuff. Yeah, it's wild. But not something we can dive into when we're at 2 hours now.
Yes. So, I hope you don't have to censor our shit so that we can talk about live leaks in its full picture.
I mean, might as well. It's not like we get sponsored anyway.
Exactly.
It's not like we're big enough for anyone to sponsor us anyway.
The moment we get sponsored, the entire channel just disappears.
It's like, oh no.
We're like, oh, we got sponsorship? Shit, what do we have to censor? I don't know.
Literally everything. That's my optimism.
Bye, guys.
That's yet another tangent. Bye. Have a day.
This is the best ending ever.
Boop.